Hello and welcome to Coffee with Cow, a Learn International podcast. My name is Sheila and I'm a Learn International intern. And today with us we have Kasie Hawkins. Kasie, how are you today?
Hi, I'm good. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Thanks for being here. For those of you who are unaware, Cow is Learn International's lovable mascot who travels everywhere we go. And Coffee with Cow is a podcast that aims to capture and share stories from student, alum, and international educators. So like I said, today we have Kasie. Kasie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Kasie Hawkins. I am from Casas Grandes, Chihuahua. It's a small colony in Mexico. I came to Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is where I currently live right now for school, where I got my degree in digital filmmaking. So I was there for 4 years, and during that time, I had an internship in a media services section for a government contractor here, and that same summer is when we did our program in Ireland where we did documentaries. So it was a film program in 2016 where we all went and got into pairs and did a documentary out there.
Oh, great. Thanks for sharing that. So let's talk about that time abroad in Ireland. If you could define it using one word, what would that one word be?
Insightful.
Insight.
So there is a lot I learned from that trip, about myself, about the world, nature, cultures, um, and just about a better way of living life. So that's why I chose insightful. Could have been a lot of words, but that one I think encompasses the most.
So after your time in Ireland, did you at all travel again after Ireland?
Yes, I did. So that was actually, Ireland was actually the first place that I traveled to outside of, my hometown in Mexico and the US. And being from a small town, I had a small conceived idea of the world, right? So Ireland really opened up my eyes as far as what's really out there, what there is more of. And I just wanted to keep that momentum, that kind of want to travel and learn more, because it was a great feeling to actually get to experience new things like that. So I booked a trip to Costa Rica the next year. So I've made myself a goal of traveling every year so that I can, keep learning and growing and experiencing new things and people and cultures. And I actually went by myself, which was another, new step for me, because for the Ireland trip, we went as a group, and people we were familiar with and stuff. So it was kind of a way to push myself a little bit more and get out of my comfort zone, even more so, by going by myself. I actually ended up meeting somebody on the plane, and we ended up traveling for the rest of our time there. And it was a really different experience, because with the Learn International documentary program, we actually had a structured, laid out plan where we would know where we were going to stay and sleep and what we were going to eat for the most part, what activities we had planned for us, which was nice. And for first time traveling, it was great. It was exactly what I needed. It was a good transition. So in order to push myself more, I kind of didn't really have a plan for when I went to Costa Rica. And that's where it was a little bit nerve-wracking, but it also opened up my eyes even more as far as possibilities and getting to experience things that maybe I wouldn't have thought of on my own before, getting to meet people and going based off of their plans and kind of experiencing new things and learning things that I wouldn't have thought I would have about myself. I feel like I've become a stronger person because of traveling in general. And with Ireland and Costa Rica, I've definitely gained a more appreciation for nature and a connection. I definitely I've felt more connected to the earth and the land. I feel like I definitely have a better respect for it, and it's changed the way I live greatly to this day. And I feel like I just can keep pushing towards that goal and becoming more eco-friendly and really, you know, doing better in general.
That's great. That's very inspiring. I find that the more I personally, the more I travel, the more I see obviously what's around me and how I can be a contributor to what is around me. So I find that travelers start with the eco part of traveling. Like, how can I be more green? Because what I'm seeing right now is pretty spectacular.
Right. The thinking green thing, I actually personally learned to be more green based off of, you know, seeing more green. So here from my hometown and where I live now, it's a desert. So it's a Chihuahuan desert. It's, you know, drier, more, it's rockier, there's more sand, more, you know, so we don't see too much green here. So for me to go to Ireland and then go to Costa Rica, I later on went to Peru as well. But I really got to see, you know, how green, you know, other places can be, and thinking green and seeing green kind of made that connection for me. It was like, wow, like I really want to preserve this beauty, and not that the desert's not beautiful, I love it. It's just different, you know, like here I guess water is really what impacts most, but out there it's more of that environment, like trash and all that kind of stuff that would impact it more than it would here. So to really see different ecosystems too really did something for me as far as being more environmentally conscious. When I went to Peru, I actually got to see, you know, like glacial deterioration. So they had told me, like, basically, you know, people, global warming's real, and I knew that going into it, but I didn't really get to see that impact, and it's something that you sometimes unfortunately have to see to really get the grasp of how serious it is. So I think that, like, really actually traveling and getting to make those experiences and connections can really open up your eyes into maybe changing the way you live in general, which is what happened to me, and I'm super grateful for all of those experiences.
I totally agree. Once you get that firsthand experience, perspectives typically change and hopefully change for the better. So I love that outlook and that insight, which is very inspiring for me as a traveler and hopefully the listeners as well. So you said that you went to Costa Rica and Peru after your time in Ireland. Can you tell us what's next on your list?
Well, I was planning on going to Egypt this year. That, you know, of course, got canceled or delayed because of the pandemic that's going on right now and the travel bans. But I still plan on making that trip once these bans are lifted and it's safe to travel again. Maybe Saudi during that time too. I have a couple of friends from out there, and my cousin's wedding as well. So kind of hoping to kind of double trip on that. But yeah, the goal is to go and visit a new country every year, fill up my passport before it expires. So I'm trying to live by that. This year might not happen, but that's okay, you know, and you also got to learn to go with the flow and not be stubborn on your ideas either, because you never know what other opportunities can come your way.
Yeah, definitely. I can appreciate your hobby that you're trying to fill up your passport. I find it to be a fun and exciting and healthy hobby.
Yeah.
And also, you can just use this time right now during the pandemic to plan your travels, which is nice, because sometimes I feel like work and life gets in the way of planning for a trip, and all of a sudden the trip is here and you go, I don't know if I'm prepared, but you have some time to prepare and really try to plan what you'd want to see on your next trip. Yeah, I'm very excited for you for those two destinations. I know they'll happen. It sounds like from you that it'll definitely happen. Can you share us any advice or insight that you might have to a student who's thinking about doing a program with Learn International in general, or maybe thinking about going to Ireland?
So along the lines with what you had just said about preparation, as far as, you know, Learn International is concerned, it's a trust thing, you know. Like, at first for me it was a big leap to even apply for the program, and I kind of applied thinking there's no way I'm going to get in, because there was like a bit of a selection process. And so I just kind of did it. I was like, probably not going to get it anyways. And once they told me that I was in, it was like really, like, I was nervous. I didn't know how to prepare for it or anything, but you just got to learn to, let go and trust yourself and trust that everybody is taking care of you. And for the most part, people are good. And there's really nothing to be afraid of. And homesickness is also real. We had a few people that kind of got really homesick when they had traveled because it was also their first time, You never really know how you're going to react, but if you go into it with a positive attitude and like a mindset of this is going to be exciting, this is going to be a new thing, and just kind of trust and build that trust with the people that you're going with, it can be the most wonderful thing that you've ever experienced. And if you're going alone, also that same leap of faith, the kind of thought process. But it's also trying to not, be a stickler for if something doesn't work out, because that happens even if it's a planned, trip or planned activity. Sometimes weather is a factor. Sometimes it might be closed, a place that you wanted to go to, and you can't let that bring you down. Positive attitude is everything. And if you think maybe I wasn't able to do this, but you can see other things where maybe you saw a pamphlet somewhere in one of the places you did get to visit, and you're like, well, that kind of seems interesting. But if you're a stickler to your plan, and when things don't work out, you just kind of rather be like, oh, I'm just gonna stay in my hostel or hotel and just feel sorry for myself. You can look at it in a different light and say, well, now I can get to do this other thing. This didn't work out, that's okay. Maybe I can go and try out this other thing that seemed interesting and experience something that might have even been better than you had thought of. So it's being open and going with the flow has a lot to do with it too. And remembering, it's not forever too. If you do feel homesick and you just kind of like, I don't know if this was the right choice, it is. It always is. Even if things don't go right, later on you'll appreciate it and be like, wow, like I was really able to pull myself through that. When I went to Peru, I had actually, so I had bought my ticket. I was gonna go in, what was it, like 2 days?
Wow.
And I had gone out with a friend of mine that was in town visiting, and she lost my car keys and my purse and all that, and she lost my cards, everything. And I was like, oh no, I have a trip in 2 days, I don't know what I'm gonna do, so I got out enough cash for me to be able to like get it, because I couldn't go into the bank and get it, so I was only able to get $300 out.
Okay.
And then like on top of that, I missed my first flight, because of a check-in time thing that I wasn't aware of. So I actually had to use most of my money to buy that first plane ticket again, and I didn't have a card. I didn't really have another way of getting it, but I was like, I kind of had prepared and planned this like 5-day trek thing where I, paid like $400, and I was able to they were going to feed me, and it included transportation, and it was a trek. So I just had to get there, Once I was there, I would have been taken care of. But like, city travel plays a factor, and your first meals play a factor. And, I had a layaway of almost a full day in Mexico City, and I ended up just staying in the airport all day because I didn't have any money to do anything else, even though that was like in my plans. I was like, I'll just go explore, maybe visit some museums or something, but I didn't have the money to do that. And I was like, I really got to, be careful. And instead of like feeling down and sorry for myself for like, why did I even come? How am I going to get back? People will always help you. I actually found that, people were willing to, like when you tell them, oh, I don't know, I can't really afford that, like maybe there's another kind of way, they'll be willing to suggest something, and that's how I got through with my first half of it. And then it ended up being great. Once I got to the location where I got to do my trek, it was the most physically, like new goal that I had set myself, and mentally too. And if I had gone into it and kept, feeling sorry for myself, and maybe not even gone once I had lost all my stuff, then I wouldn't have gotten to experience that. And to this day, I don't know how different my life would be without that, because it's made that much of an impact to get to experience all these things and all these places and people. And people are a great thing too. And I know that some people aren't really like people, but you can really find a new appreciation with new cultures and learn from them. I'm still friends with my documentary subject, Paul. uh, he and I still talk on Facebook sometimes and stuff, and he told me about his trip that he was going to, I think it was Chile, and he was practicing his Spanish with me, and it was great. I mean, like, still to this day too, with Mary, this woman in Ireland that we met, she was our Ireland mother. You can actually meet people that will become family, and that's great. Like, people can become family. Places can become more than memories. They can become a feeling. When I was in Ireland, I really felt connected to this place called Gola Island, and it's tiny. I mean, I believe like 12 people might live there, on and off.
Wow.
But that's where we based our documentary, and then we had gone into it thinking it was going to be a different kind of documentary, but we ended up finding out a lot more about our person and their struggles, and changed their whole direction. And again, it's that willingness to go with the flow and take new ideas and roll with it, where we actually ended up bringing up really crucial, like, points about mental health and how nature can heal. And I didn't realize things that I needed to heal, but by seeing his example and by working with him and being in the land that was helping him heal, in a way helped me heal as well, on things that of course weren't that great, but like, it really to this day I can look back and feel that feeling. Like, I'll look at a picture or something, sometimes Paul will send or post pictures of Gola, and it'll bring back that same peace and serenity, and places you can find that have personalities, and I'm really grateful for that as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. I just hearing you talk about, unknown changes that happened during your time in Peru, or like your project subject in Ireland, how you had this idea that the project would go one way and then it changed to another way. Just hearing you talk about the positive attitude you have after it, on how you had all these opportunities, changed opportunities that came from what changed in that process. And like hearing you talk about it in a positive way makes you, I mean, for once, makes you sound extremely flexible and open-minded and open to anything new that might come your way. So I appreciate your outlook and your energy towards talking about those experiences in Ireland and in traveling. So I'm loving what you have to say, and I'm loving the attitude and energy that you're giving us right now. I want to thank you so much for being here today, Kasie. We really appreciate your passion and your stories that you had to share. So thanks so much for your time.
Of course.
And I want to thank the listeners as well. Thanks for being here today to listen to Kasie and myself talk about her time abroad in Ireland and her other destinations as well. You can find Learn International podcast on all of our social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and with the hashtag LearnINTL. We look forward to hearing more stories from our next guest. And thanks again, Kasie. We really appreciate all your time. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.